Hatori, internet, welcome to They Can't All Be Bangers. This is a songwriting podcast where Hatori and we both try to write a song in the space of a week. And if we fail, we have to chop off one digit.
It's true.
So I'm down 2 toes at this point. How about you, Hatori?
Well, I mean, if I was to actually follow through, I'd have no fingers left. But, I'm just gonna save that for later. It will eventually.
We're actually really what we're doing is we're putting IOUs of cut off fingers into the IOU bucket. Like we'll in hopes that there'll be weeks where we write 2 songs to kind of. I don't know why I'm talking.
Really high stakes.
Hatori, I was listening back through, I was editing some old episodes, and I don't remember the name of the song. Gosh, I really liked your song Inspired by Beck by Morning Phase.
I don't remember if I gave it a name. I probably
liked it so much.
Thank you.
So it was really fun to listen to again.
That's awesome.
Yeah, go ahead.
About it. I just, my, life is life, and there's a lot of other things going on, and this was one of the hardest weeks yet to write. I actually tried like early this week. Like I've been trying almost every day, and I have hit a wall every day.
Okay.
So this has been a challenge, which it is a challenge.
Folks, on that note, we're ending the podcast because the second this became not easy for either of us, we're out. That's been the lesson of this podcast is if it's not easy, it's not worth doing.
Oh, that's great.
Well, I'm very interested to hear that because I think as I was just talking shit there, it's interesting what struggle produces sometimes.
Yeah.
So I also saw a side little Eddie here. I like the green. I haven't seen this before, and I like that one.
Thank you. I have, you know what? In the last year or so, I've started to collect a lot of green.
That's good.
It's a good color. Thank you.
All right. Well, enough jibber jabber. Hatori. I don't remember who went first last week. Happy to go first if you like, or
I think I went first last week because I didn't want to go after you because I was so ashamed of the song that I wrote. But today? No, it's fine. We can let's have you start.
Okay, sounds good.
No,
I was just chuckling because I'm like, gosh, like you ever need to be ashamed of one of your songs?
Oh, please.
I'm such a fan. Okay. All right, Hatori, I'm calling this song Company, and it goes a little something like this. Buckling underneath the weight of what I can't control. Yeah, it takes a patient sort of grind just to let it all unfold. I don't seem to ever find the answers that I need. It's just a guess to stumble along, following my own lead. So here we go. It's only me for company. Only mysteries. There's only me inside my mind with echoes of my dreams. I'm worn out on dreaming of the man I'd rather be. I'm just starting to believe there's only me. Company. Limitations are a gift. The challenge is the way. But if I was in control, if I had my way, I'd never see another fight. I'd never have to try. And I'd lose all the growth, all the best things in my life. It's only me for company, only mysteries. It's only me inside my mind with echoes of my dreams. I'm worn out on dreaming of the man I'd rather be. I'm just starting to believe there's only me for company's only me for company, only mysteries. There's only me inside my mind with echoes of my dreams. I'm worn out on dreaming of the man I'd rather be. I'm just starting to believe there's only me for company.
That's Company by Jeremy Herzer.
Your production just keeps getting better and better.
Come on.
Like every single week, you just show up and you have more, and it just feels more and more polished. And I don't even
Thank
like
you.
it's so impressive. Like you can so clearly see like all the stuff that you're learning. You're experimenting more. You're using more, different instruments. And I think it's so cool. I feel like your music is like taking a whole new like shape, and
Thank
it's
you.
really impressive.
Thank you very much.
Love
I am experimenting a lot.
Yeah. It sounds good. I
Thanks.
think like it almost feels like there's just like more dimension to you as an artist. It's very, very cool.
Well, I mean, that means a lot to me coming from you because I would appreciate that from anybody, but I mean, that means a lot coming from you specifically. So thank you. Um, I started with, on that note, I started with this sample. And it kind of, in my mind, I had that very clear picture of where, oh, this is going to take me down that path. And then I found uh, this sample. And the original sample's like less than half that speed, I think.
Oh. Uh-huh.
I just thought, I'm going to try it. And I just liked,
Yeah. It works.
yeah. And I mean, ideally, I would track my own mandolin, but I don't know. Last week, we talked about this, that I just really had fun writing from splice samples. And there's times where where it's absolutely maddening when you're going
Yeah.
click, 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 click. Because when you search for banjo, I don't know, banjo loops, and there's 18,287 choices, literally.
Uh-huh.
It's like it kind of stops being fun, but I don't know. I generally enjoy this. I like layering drums. I
Mhm.
found I like kind of having a drum machine with a drummer, like, and
Yeah.
to your point, it's all these things where it's like, I didn't really know that about myself or kind of my preferences
Mhm.
until,
Mhm.
and if this is just me here with a guitar, like that's a very narrow range of what things I'm going to be able to create. So I really enjoyed the process of, and last week too, kind of these things unfold in a different way when you're using a giant splice library. Anyways.
Yeah. Because I've been thinking about that. Because yeah, it's very easy to get into the rut of
Mm-hmm.
splice where you're like, okay, I have an exact sound or thing that I want.
Mm-hmm.
Finding that thing is next to impossible, or it will take such a long time. And so at some
Yeah.
point, if your song is already fleshed out, it's easier to play it yourself, figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
But
Eh,
I love using splice as the starting point.
yeah.
To me, it uses I find sounds and textures and atmospheres that I
Mm-hmm.
can't create in my own room.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, I love it.
I think too, yeah, I totally agree. And I think what's interesting is like, this isn't what I want to do every week, but it's the same four chords throughout the song.
Mhm.
And I realized, as much crap as I have talked about pop and country my whole life, I realized like sometime last year I was listening to some top 40 country because I've been part of a commercial songwriters group, just kind of trying to learn how to write. And I don't know that I'm ever going to do that, but it's a long story. I was listening to Top 40 Country specifically to understand like what if I'm going to pursue this, what is the end goal? Like, what does it actually even sound like? And I realized, like, man, I like these songs.
Mhm.
I mean, some of them are stupid,
Right.
but
But
yeah, but generally, like, yeah, I enjoy listening to them and like it's clever. And the other thing I realized is like, oh my gosh, none of these are complicated
yeah.
and they're still fun to listen to. So I think to your point, like starting with a splice sample and just saying like, okay, here are broadly the guardrails, and then the next one you add is like, okay, it's kind of works both ways in that it opens up one avenue of creation, but it closes off all these others, which I find really helpful, you know?
Yeah,
So,
that's true. That
um, yeah.
yeah. I think maybe I don't know, in my journey of learning music theory and
Mm,
as a chronic and clinical perfectionist,
hmm.
like I think it's taken me such a long time to just appreciate simplicity for what it is
Hmm.
and not to be ashamed of it, but to actually be able to use it as a tool as
Yeah.
easily and as frequently as you would anything else.
Yeah.
You know? And I
Yep.
think I've always wanted to find that secret chord or like that weird thing that
Yep.
is unusual and interesting. But and I used to be obsessed with that in the sense of chords. And I realized, well, you can do that with anything, with words and
Hmm.
lyrics and timing and
Hmm.
sounds and uh yeah. And so that's a really big missed opportunity, I think,
Hmm.
that we
Yeah.
forget about is just like, yeah, a four chord song can be the greatest song you've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like it can be, and there's tons of them,
Yep.
and
Yep.
there's nothing wrong with it. I
I
love it.
think that's what I love so much about this, doing this activity with you is that next week we get to do whatever we want. And
Yeah.
it could be, I could write an entirely chromatic song, which would be weird and dumb and like, I'd probably never play it again. But like I could do that and whatever goes in the
Yeah.
list of songs I've written.
Yeah.
So,
I love
um, couple of other notes and then I'll shut up about this. But because I I wrote all the lyrics and tracked the all the vocals in 40 minutes. So clearly would go back and clean a lot up. And I very briefly started to track backing vocals. And I was like, I need more time on this. So like this part, the here we go, whatever that may go away, but I also had an idea for that melodically, and I just forgot what it was. So I'd want to iterate on that. The chorus, obviously, I think layering a bunch of oohs and ahs back there.
Mhm.
I always really enjoy that. So, um,
I think it's awesome.
oh,
I,
thank
I
you.
think that I really like the concept, just like
Yeah.
company, like myself as company. I don't know. I like it. For some reason, it strikes me as super interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
did you already have the idea when you
mm-mm.
started writing? No.
No, no, it was, I have been reflecting a lot lately on, this concept that we are not this, like
Yeah.
we are the electrical impulses in our brain. You know what I'm saying? Like our brain is not even actually seeing the world. Our brain is
Yeah.
in interpreting these signals through nerve endings, et cetera. And like when we look in the mirror, right? And when I look in the mirror and I see Jeremy, there's immediately all the story that goes along with it. But I've conditioned myself to believe that, if that makes sense. And so I've
Mm.
just been thinking a lot about how there's all these things I don't like about myself, and that is often the first thing when I look in the mirror, that's usually the first thing I see. And um, I just really, I think I know when I can step back from that, I know that that's a really not helpful and really very narrow and kind of myopic way to view our existence.
Mhm.
Um, in that, for all the things that I think are liabilities, like I'm a procrastinator, and I'm totally fine saying like, I don't know, I'll do that on Monday. There's
Yeah.
another person who is like, I wish I could free myself from the compulsion to
Yeah.
check boxes
Yeah.
obsessively. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it really is. Anyways, some of this is just kind of that me vomiting this from this place of reflection of, um, it's me, and this the calories I invest into wanting to be someone else or wanting to control the dials of my brain and my personality are would really rob me of probably all the good things that I actually like about being me, if that makes sense. So, anyways,
Yeah. It's such an universal experience.
yeah.
And I don't know. I come back to it all the time because I do think about it constantly. And there's um individualistic cultures and collectivistic cultures, all of
Mm-hmm.
huge span of them, and it is so interesting the consequences of both
Mm,
of of leaning too far away from individualism
mm.
and leaning too far into it. Um yeah, just I've been thinking about that. So very timely. I don't know.
Interesting.
Very
I love
interesting.
it.
Mm.
Well, Hattori, thank you for your very generous comments. Let's hear a Hattori a banger.
Well, you'll hear something, that's for sure.
Oh, I know what I'll hear.
It this has been, and I said this earlier, this has been really hard. This one has been very difficult. I think like
Yeah.
going into it, it's been a week, and I had been feeling a lot of things, and it's been overwhelming and upsetting and very stressful. Um and I think strong emotions can create a good song.
Mm,
And I thought it would. And in this case, it was just work. It was just so much
mm.
labor in everything. And it's so bizarre. I started and erased and went back and restarted it probably 3 or 4 times this week.
Wow.
And even now, there is not like a melody line, a progression, a lyric that feels right in this
Okay.
whole thing. And I don't think I've had this happen in our challenge yet to this
Hmm.
extent. No, there's usually like at least one thing that I'm like, yeah, I can keep this.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it is the lens that I'm looking at it through and just, you know,
Mm-hmm.
everything. But maybe it's probably something very personal for me. But yeah, I am just at a loss for this, but I think at least it's honest. So yeah,
I'm
I don't
excited.
have a name.
Genuinely.
Yeah, well, you're gonna hear it. So here
All
we go.
right.
You know what? Let me know if you can hear. You know what? I'm gonna do what you did. That was clever. Boom.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. Look at that. Brilliant. All right. Here we go. I think it's time we talk about it, but I fear we're too far gone. It's an old and sad familiar story. I'm sure you've heard it all before. Are the things we hold so dear soon become the bottom line? And it's that bottom line that cleaves us in two, through skin and bone, flesh and marrow, kin and foe, hand and sparrow. The bottom line bleeds us dry. The bottom line, stay alive. It
wraps around and strings us up, our unbecoming. We've been made a spectacle of, it's such a shame. Now we know what we've always been made of. When we thought we'd be more than we're made of. When the sky falls and the oceans rise, and the waves are at our door, it's a small price to pay to save what we adore. The weight of the world's sorrows would crush the divine himself, but spread it out amongst the willing, and it's business as usual. Rich and poor, young and old, vulnerable, meek and bold. The bottom line bleeds us dry. The bottom line, stay alive. It wraps around and strings us up, how unbecoming. We've been made a spectacle of, it's such a shame. It wraps around and strings us up, how unbecoming. We've been made a spectacle of, it's such a shame. Now we know what we've always been made of. Though we'd want it to be so much more than we're made of. Now we know what we've always been made of. Oh, we want it to be so much more than we're made of.
And that's it.
I am stunned.
Wow.
That is a beautiful song.
Mm.
Beautiful. Um, hmm.
Thank you.
I really, it's kind of overwhelming.
Mhm.
Uh, you're, I mean, you're allowed to feel about it however you want. I know how I feel about it, and I wish I could see you do this live, at a piano.
Mm.
I think your lyrics are absolutely beautiful. Obviously, your vocal performance. I love how breathy and kind of fragile it felt. I liked the melody. It didn't have like this, you know, pop
Yeah.
thing, but
Mhm.
I actually feel like that was a better service to this song.
Mm.
Um,
I think, well, thank you, first of all. You know, when you write a song and you're like, I have no idea
Mm-hmm.
what this sounds like to someone else. Like I have
Mm-hmm.
no clue.
Yeah.
I So I had the lyrics first. Like
Mm.
I went through the week, I
Mm-hmm.
had ideas and I started an idea and trashed it and started another one and trashed it. And then I was like, I'm gonna start with lyrics. So then I kind of came up with this concept. And so all I did was try to sing a line, a
Mm-hmm.
melody line. And I did that probably 100 times
Hmm.
through. Um, and it was so frustrating because there's so many parts that I wanted to change that I couldn't change.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I do.
I want it to be a different melody, and I have in my brain there is nothing else that is coming out.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole song felt like. And I don't know. Maybe it's that I just felt overwhelmed the whole time. And I think maybe the topic was too ambitious and I wasn't ready and I hadn't thought it through. But um yeah, this one was a battle for sure. And
Well, go ahead,
it
sir.
felt like, sorry, yeah, it felt it's probably a song that I needed to write
Hmm.
for my own sake.
I'm glad.
It's probably one that I need to continue to write as well.
Well, again, I'm not trying to puff you up. Like uh, I, I really enjoyed this enjoy is the wrong word, but like, this really touched me. Um, it's really just supremely beautiful. Um, and I do think I was actually thinking about this with my song is that I think actually playing these things sometimes helps me flesh out the melody a little bit more to be like, oh, that part was really satisfying. That part, I didn't enjoy singing that. But if
Yeah.
I do it this way, I really enjoy that. And
Uh,
maybe it's not like, because sometimes I struggle to figure out like, how does it, to your point, how does it land with someone else? But I know as a performer, this is actually what I wanted it to be.
uh,
I just, um, it just took some elaboration. So that could be that for you. I think your lyrics, by the way, I think there's some really like brutally brilliant and challenging stuff in there. The bottom line concept is, mwah,
hmm,
it's really memorable.
hmm,
The two sections of like couplets
hmm.
where you have hand and sparrow, bone and marrow, and then when you had young and old, vulnerable, meek and bold, like I think that's really thought provoking. And it's unfair because I get to see this stuff. I get to see it coming.
Yeah.
But I think your audience, like when you perform this live, is going to be left with a lot to think about, and they're going to want to hear the song again.
Hmm.
That's my opinion.
Thank you. Wow, isn't it crazy how our perspectives can be so wildly different?
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I am
Interesting.
hoping that through this podcast, you and I can generate an exactly uniform perspective on music.
Yeah, that's
That's the
cool.
goal. Uh, no, 'cause I'm sorry. I don't know why I always think I need to be funny, but the fact is that's actually one of my favorite things about working with you on a weekly basis is that um, even though we have a lot in common, I actually wrote a paper about this once. Maybe I've shared this before in college about Marshawn Lynch, and it was about communication and how, or culture, I think is what it was, and how Marshawn Lynch and I, you know who that is?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, he played for the Seahawks, right? Like he and I are both Americans.
yeah,
We grew up speaking English. We're familiar. Like there's
a
a
lot of
long list of stuff. And this would be the same with you and me, right? A long list of stuff that you and I have in common. But then the things that are different about us is maybe more.
yeah.
And I love that I'm not here with another Jeremy.
Mhm.
I freaking love it. And of all people, like it's you, right? So
Right.
I don't, yeah.
The feeling is mutual
Yeah.
because I would be pissed if I was another version of myself. I would be
Yeah.
so pissed. Yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
the most infuriating person I know. So, uh, Yeah, getting just a fresh perspective, and because like music and writing, and you're so well versed in the art of writing, I think that there's so much value that comes from
Mm.
that. Just the experience, because your experience writing is different than my experience writing. And there's a ton of overlap, and there's still a lot that I'm learning from you. So it's very
Well, right back at you, buddy. Are you, and maybe you need some time away from it, but do you think you will play this one live? There's a lot of lyrics.
It's a lot of lyrics.
Yeah.
It's very wordy. I don't know if I can memorize it, but I mean, like I've already sung through them like 100 times. So,
You got it.
so it's probably pretty good in there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this I feel like, okay, this is one of those songs, it wrote itself, and I didn't want it to write itself, and I was trying to write it,
Mm-hmm.
didn't let me. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how I feel about the song.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if I spend more time with it, maybe come back to it in like a week, I think that I probably would be more willing to. It almost feels so bizarre. It felt like singing a cover song.
Oh, interesting.
Makes sense. It
Oh,
doesn't make sense, but that's what it was. It was so bizarre.
interesting.
Yeah, this has been such a weird experience for me.
I think I try not, I mean, please don't hear this as advice or anything, but as I was listening through it and kind of thinking back on it now, one thing I think that might make you feel better about it, and maybe you had something like this, maybe that's why I'm thinking it. Maybe I heard something in your song and I'm interpreting it as my idea, um, which is very Jeremy thing to do. But I kind of feel like if there was a point in there, maybe a refrain of just like single notes that are held out, like
Yeah. Yeah.
it might give you
For space. Yeah.
a feeling of and the other thing, the reason I was thinking that is I've always um I think I don't know if you've used, I know you use a looper a lot, but I always think of you as like a vocal processor person. Like if you had a vocal processor that you could just say, here's a, click, um, minor third above.
Uh-huh.
And I think that kind of thing, like on a sustained, because how much your melody moves throughout, that might be tricky to do. But I don't know. I was just imagining this whole soundscape of you at the Roxy and by the piano, and I was, had my eyes closed and I was there just like watching Hatori do this song. And I was thinking that like, man, it'd be really cool in these certain moments to have like more Hatoris. But I'm talking a lot here. I'm sorry, but I know that's tricky to do to set up in advance with the looper. So that's why I was wondering like if you had some vocal processor where you could just like click a button and the
I
harmonies come on.
wonder. So this is okay, completely random. So maybe this is a lot to do with it. I was listening to a bunch of Ella Fitzgerald yesterday.
Oh,
I listened to jazz. It like
it's
messes me up in like
that's great.
the best possible way, because I
Yeah.
think it's just so opposite of what I normally
Uh-huh.
do and how I think. And I was listening to the harmonies, and there was a ton of movement, and there was always this one anchor point where you wouldn't expect that person to hold, because she had like
Oh,
singing with another group, and they were just holding this one note that should not work, but it
yeah.
works, and I feel like I need something like that where it's just one sustained note.
Yeah.
And maybe it changes throughout, but like there's big sections where it just remains that.
Yeah.
That could be a really fun experiment. And I could potentially do that on the looper by recording
Oh,
it beforehand,
mm,
know,
that is
and
cool.
doing that, and then I can turn it on and off whenever I want, because I have
Yeah.
5 channels.
You, yeah. And some of what I said is my ignorance of how the looper works, but
It would.
um, it's interesting you say you listen to Ella Fitzgerald. I went last night, met up with a friend I hadn't seen in a while, and he's like, "Hey, there's a bar that does live jazz near
Love
my
it.
work." So I went and sat to listen to a quartet for a couple hours. It was awesome. It's a gal playing a trombone, like,
Oh,
like I don't see how that's possible, but she's doing
I
it.
don't understand it. Somebody who told me this, was this you? Somebody told me that they like did brain scans on people playing jazz. Oh
Wasn't
no,
me.
my buddy Jackson, who played guitar for me on my recent show, he
Oh,
mentioned it. They were like, they did brain scans while people were playing or singing jazz, and the parts of the brain that light up was not creativity,
hmm.
music, it was language. So it's like
Oh,
literally for them, it is just speaking,
wow.
speaking a language. So that
Wow.
they're just talking. And I'm like, how do I get there? How do I get to
Yeah.
the point where music is just a language?
Yeah.
And as second nature is just talking. Ah, I want that so bad. I'll get
I don't want to practice
there.
Hatori, so
Me too. Uh,
listen, I don't want to belabor it too much. I really like this song. I think you wrote I think it's a great song. I really do. Um, I think I kind of understand what you're saying about there's some things you want to refine in there, but I don't know what I would tell you to cut because I thought all your lyrics were really, it was a journey. It was thought provoking, more than thought provoking. It was really compelling and kind of gripping at points. Beautiful, memorable, and yeah, I hope I get to hear it live someday.
I probably will. I probably will end up doing that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. I feel like there's a long road ahead of me with this song, for me to come to terms with it. If
Yeah,
um
good.
that is a great learning experience. And I've heard of like artists who spend years on one song.
Hmm.
So this might be one of those.
Did a little bit of an aside related to that. Have you Malcolm Gladwell did a whole podcast episode about the song Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen,
Yeah. Love that
and
song.
it didn't work forever.
Really?
Yeah, it like did not work forever. And I can't remember the end result, but I think if I'll see if I can find that, but there was like it went through all these not even necessarily iterations, but kind of like I guess stylistic approaches or production approaches or whatever, but like it just didn't work. And then I can't remember if it was when somebody covered it, like maybe Jeff Buckley covered it, that it finally like the world was like, "Oh,
What?
right?" Because we hear that song and we're like,
Yeah.
it's
Wow.
mhm,
That is wild.
yeah. Because it was
'Cause
kind of
I,
this
I
obscure, forgotten, like whatever song.
it's the
But
greatest songs ever written, I think.
right.
I think a
And,
lot of people think that.
and you hear it now and you go, it's obvious. How could it not be? But
Yeah, wow, that is fascinating. I'm gonna have
mhm.
to Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, yeah. I can't remember. Was it Revisionist History was the name of his podcast? I can't remember, but
I'm gonna look
that was a really fascinating episode.
at
So
yeah. How interesting.
listen, Hattori, thank you for writing a banger.
And you, I that was actually very inspiring. And I now all I want to do is just play around on Logic.
Hmm. Exactly.
So
Uh, well, good. We
yeah,
did
we did
it.
it. Did it
Are
again.
anything specific you want to do for this coming week or?
I would like to
Oh,
have a better time writing this next.
well,
That would be great.
yeah. I hope you do.
Me too.
Well, I say that selfishly. I hope I get. I'll take another sad Hattori.
At
Some.
what cost? Yes.
uh, on Saturday, I am volunteering at the Portland Folk Festival. So
That's
I will be. So we may need to do Sunday, but
totally fine with me. I
yeah.
love an extra day to work on stuff. So love it. Let's do it.
I think for this week, I am going to force myself to pick up, and I did track acoustic on this song, but I think I'm going to force myself to go start with a real instrument, and work my way through it from there. So,
That is very exciting. Very
yeah.
exciting. I think I want to go. I'm leaning more. Well, I don't know why, but SZA. I've been listening to her, and I
I don't
just
know this person.
you don't know SZA?
Mm-mm. SZA.
SZA,
Oh, okay.
award-winning. She
Oh, I think I have heard a
her
couple of her
music is
songs.
so interesting to me because it's just so different than my brain. So
Yeah.
I'll be listening to a lot of her, and I'm going to see if I can decode it and then use it, if that makes sense.
Nice. I love it. Yeah.
So.
One of these weeks I got to do a Frank Ocean inspired
Yes.
song, but it's hard.
Oh, he's
It's
amazing.
intimidating. That's been on my mind a lot, like the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 months.
I've probably tried to write a song like Pink and White
Oh,
20 times. It has
Yeah.
never.
Isn't that weird how it is? Like, we know how to do it.
I
We know
know.
all the major I mean, until you get into some weird, like Thundercat has some stuff. I'm like, I don't know. But generally it's like, it shouldn't be that hard to write a song like that. And it turns out it's pretty freaking hard. So,
Freaking hard. It's really hard because he already came up with it.
yeah,
Okay? So yeah.
real jerk, real jackass, stealing all the. All right, Hatori. I hope you
Lovely.
have a fantastic week. I hope to hear another Hatori banger.
Let's do it.
And for those of you out on the internet listening, goodbye. Bye.